Dark screen. Jet engine whining in background. Radar beeps. A voice crackles over radio. It was big. It was loud. And it could fly faster than the speed of sound. While carrying more firepower than most bombers the sky didn't own the Phantom owned the sky. Cue cinematic slow motion shot of the F-4 Phantom screaming off an aircraft carrier deck. Afterburners lighting up the dawn sky. Born in the heat of the Cold War, feared in the jungles of Vietnam, and worshipped in hangars around the world. This was not just a fighter jet. This was America's thunder in the sky. Text on screen. The F-4 Phantom II, the beast that changed air combat forever. In the 1950s, the world was on edge. Nuclear threats, spy planes, and dogfights weren't science fiction. They were reality. The U.S. Navy wanted something new, something faster, deadlier, smarter. And in walked McDonnell Aircraft Corporation with an idea so radical, the generals laughed. A jet with 2 engines, 2 seats, and no guns. Just speed and missiles no one believed it would work. But when the prototype roared to life, the skies had no choice but to listen. They called it the F-4H-1. The rest of the world would know it as the Phantom. What made the Phantom terrifying wasn't just its speed. Although it could break Mach 2.2 easily, it wasn't just the 18,000-pound bomb load bigger than some World War II bombers. It was this. The Phantom was the first true multi-role combat jet. It could be an interceptor, a bomber, a recon jet, even a dogfighter, if you had the guts. Twin General Electric J-79 turbojet engines gave it almost 36,000 pounds of thrust. It could climb like a rocket and roar past the sound barrier before enemies even scrambled, but it had one flaw. It had no internal gun. The military believed missiles would replace dogfighting forever, but war had other plans continued. I'll now continue writing the next sections, including Vietnam War missions, legendary dogfights, F-4 versus MiGs, role in Israeli Air Force, Iran, and others, modern upgrades and retirement. Why it's still feared. The year is 1965. The skies over Vietnam are about to become the deadliest chessboard on Earth. From the decks of American aircraft carriers and the runways of Southeast Asia, the F-4 Phantom took off with one goal: control the sky. But they weren't alone up there. Lurking in the clouds were MiG-17s and MiG-21s, flown by North Vietnamese pilots trained by the Soviets. And while the Phantom was faster, stronger, and more advanced, it had a problem. It couldn't turn like a MiG. It didn't see like a MiG. And worse, it had no gun. Fox 1. Missile away. Explosion sounds. Damn it, it missed. I can't get a lock. He's on my 6. In those moments, missiles were useless. Pilots needed something raw, something immediate. They needed a gun. So, Phantom crews improvised. External gun pods. New radar tactics. They turned their flaws into fuel. And the Phantom fought back. One ace, Colonel Robin Olds, painted a mustache on his jet and led Operation Beyond the Lookout, a clever trick that baited enemy MiGs into ambush, results 7 enemy jets down in minutes. No American losses. The Phantom wasn't just fighting a war. It was rewriting the rulebook of air combat. The U.S. wasn't the only nation that saw the Phantom's potential. Soon, Phantoms flew under different flags. Royal Air Force used them for air defense. Germany for NATO front lines. Japan built them under license. Israel? They made the Phantom legendary in the Middle East. The Phantom became a storm during the Yom Kippur War. Israeli Phantoms executed deep strikes behind enemy lines. They carried laser-guided bombs. They hunted SAM sites. They fought MiGs one-on-one and won. And then came Iran, flying F-4s even after relations with the U.S. collapsed. Even with no support, no spare parts, the Iranians kept them flying. The Phantom doesn't just survive war. It eats it. So, what made the F-4 Phantom so unique, so unforgettable? Let's look at the monster specs. Top speed, Mach 2.23, 2,370 kilometers per hour. Combat radius, over 680 miles. Payload, up to 18,000 pounds of bombs, missiles, rockets. Engines, 2 times GJ79 G17 afterburning turbojet max takeoff weight, 60,000 pounds. Armament, AIM 7 Sparrows, AIM 9 Sidewinders bombs, gun pods. In short, it could outrun you, outgun you, and outlast you. You don't fly the Phantom. You hold on and pray. The Cold War was a silent storm. One false move, and the world would turn to ash. In this deadly game of strategy and power, the Phantom wasn't just a fighter. It was a nuclear deterrent, equipped with the ability to carry nuclear bombs. The Phantom stood ready 24/7, engines hot, pilots waiting. One call, one signal, and the Phantom would scream into the sky with atomic fire in its belly. Phantom squadrons sat on alert across NATO bases in Europe, South Korea, and even on aircraft carriers in every ocean. The Soviets knew the Phantom wasn't bluffing. The world changed, and so to the Phantom, new threats meant new roles. And the jet evolved not once, but dozens of times. Variants that rewrote combat doctrine. F-4G Wild Weasel, designed to hunt enemy radar and SAM sites. These weren't just jets. They were electronic assassins. Our F-4, high-speed recon jets with powerful cameras, used to spy without being seen. F-4E, the classic gunfighter version, finally equipped with an internal 20mm Vulcan cannon. Because sometimes you need to see the whites of their eyes. The Phantom adapted. It learned. It grew teeth. By the 1980s, it wasn't a relic. It was a battle-hardened war machine, still patrolling skies from Asia to the Middle East. Even as newer jets like the F-15 and F-16 came in, the Phantom was retired. It was reassigned. From first strike to last stand, every legend must one day face the hangar. By the 1990s and 2000s, most air forces began retiring their Phantoms. But they didn't go quietly. The U.S. Air Force's final F-4 combat mission, 1996, the final Phantom flight in U.S. service, December 21st, 2016, a ceremonial flight, a salute to a Titan. Crowds gathered. Veterans wept. Because this was not just a retirement of a jet, it was the end of an era. This is Spook One, final Phantom departing runway. For the last time. You thought it was gone? Think again. As of 2025, Phantoms still fly. Greece uses them for combat, and training Iran operates dozens, and they've modified them heavily. Turkey uses them for reconnaissance and strike roles. South Korea retired theirs recently. But not forgotten, some have become target drones, used to test modern missiles. But even then, they outrun and dodge like the old days. It's a 60-year-old jet, and it still gives modern radars a headache. Ask any fighter pilot from the Cold War era, they'll tell you the Phantom wasn't pretty. It was loud, heavy, and unforgiving. But when it flew overhead, you felt it in your chest. It was the first real multi-role jet, the first to break so many speed records, the last to win wars before stealth arrived. It had no fly-by-wire, no artificial intelligence, no forgiveness, just metal, fire, and men with nerves of steel. It came from an age of fear, flew into a world of fire, and carved its name into the sky. The F-4 Phantom II wasn't just a jet. It was a roaring, flaming monument to what man can build when the stakes are high and failure is not an option. And long after it's gone, its echo will still be heard in the thunder above. Text on screen: F-4 Phantom II. Still flying. Still feared. If you love fighter jets, then like the video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel.